No fair putting a picture up, Jennifer Wadlinger.
Everybody's entering muted, just so they know.
Okay. If you guys all know, you're all muted right now, so you can leave yourself muted during the meeting, and when you hit your space bar, it will allow you to talk, but that's a good idea because then if you have background noise, it doesn't flick back and forth. Just don't forget to hit the space bar when you want to talk. We have everybody. There's Michael. Okay. Oh, Matt's got his kitty. That's so fun. Okay. Do we have all board members? Let me make my screen bigger so I can see everybody. Okay, we got Raul. We've
started saying hi to everyone on this screen who I haven't seen for a while. I'm like, hi.
There's Jennifer. Oh, here comes Kevin. Kathy Pope, I can't see you. Maybe she walked away. There's Kathy. Kathy's trying out a fancy screen.
I am, but it's not working, so I'm gonna go fix it.
It's really hard. You know what? You have to have a green screen behind you to make it work.
Well, I do, and that's what's making it all weird because I guess my computer can't handle it. But I'm gonna fix it. I'll be back. Ah.
Look at Raul is like the master.
I know. I know.
I think part of my problem was that my computer didn't have enough memory. You have to have a certain amount of memory to
Yes.
something like that. Yeah. Okay, are we missing anybody? As long as we have all the board members, we can at least start, right, Paula? I think we have everybody, right? Are we all ready?
We're ready.
Okay, all right. So we are going to go, let me just see what time it is. We're going to call to order at 6:02. And we have nothing to report out from closed session and no actions taken. And let's start out with attendance roll call. And remember, you guys have to hit your space bar and I have to hear you. Clerk Reed.
Here.
Trustee Lopez Jones.
Here.
Trustee Maxfield.
Here.
Trustee Galindo.
Here.
And we don't have Alexis today, right? Student representative is
I thought she was attending.
Okay.
She should be attending. I will follow up, but she has submitted a report.
Okay, all right, maybe she will pop on later. Okay, so if Paula would share her beautiful screen, we can all pledge allegiance. There we go. Yeah. All right, ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
It stands.
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You guys are all muted, aren't you?
Not me.
Okay, good. Thank you, Kathy.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. Okay, so we did that, and now we just need any changes on the agenda. Don't forget spacebar. No changes on the agenda.
Sorry, no changes.
Okay. All right, then we're just looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So move.
I'm going to take Jeff on that. Second?
Second.
Indira, perfect. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Aye.
Don't forget, Jeff, I have to hear you. You too, Mark.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
All right. So just reading the district mission statement, we are a collaborative, culturally rich educational community where a rigorous and innovative curriculum prepares our students to be successful contributors to our global society. So we are starting off the meeting with recognitions, which is always the best part. The Board of Education recognizes students, employees, or members of the community who have received recognition for academic or athletic achievement, or who have made a significant contribution of any kind to the district. And tonight we are going to be recognizing our retirees from this year. And I think I'm going to give it over to, who am I giving it over to for that?
Actually, Paula is going to share her screen and you can actually read right through it, Julie.
Okay, I'd be happy to. Okay, this is the same as what's on my list, right? Okay, so Jennifer Wadlinger, who first I just have to say was my child's teacher for 2 years and did an exceptional job, and we loved her so much we wished we had her every year. CES 6th grade teacher and former library media teacher for Calistoga Joint Unified School District. She's been with us for 7 years. She worked in our library and taught 5th and 6th grades. And as a language arts teacher, she fostered classroom discussion and supported students' literacy and critical thinking. As a colleague, she is appreciated for her collaboration, humor, intelligence, and creativity. And I have to say I agree with all of that. She was fantastic. Anybody else have anything they want to contribute? Don't forget to unmute yourself. So Jen, we are putting these together. They're not quite here physically yet, but this will be something that you'll receive as a token of our memory.
And I'd just like to shout out an additional appreciation for Jen. She has really been instrumental in the changing of the structure of our 6th grade program. Our 6th grade program is very similar to the middle school program, where we have students who go for one teacher for math, one teacher for science, and one teacher for language arts. I think that has been an incredible shift for our 6th graders and has made them more middle school ready. And she was instrumental in getting that program going. So I just wanted to give an additional shout out there.
Great. Perfect. Well, we love everything that you've contributed, and I can't believe it was 7 years. It seems like just yesterday I can remember approving you in as our library media tech, so that's great. I can't see Jen right now, which is a bummer. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Here you go. Let me put me.
You can go to gallery view and see everyone. I have the Brady Bunch frame right now.
Here we go. I don't know what's going on. It's not doing me. Anyways, that's okay. But I just want to say thank you from all of us for all your hard work for our district.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, and it was the most fun 7 years I've ever had teaching, and I can say that honestly. And Calistoga is near and dear to my heart, so I won't be a stranger. I'll be back volunteering or whatever you need me for. So I'm not gone. I'm just retiring.
That's right. Perfect. Well, thank you. And obviously, Jen, you don't have to stay for the whole meeting. You know that. So we'll keep you on at least for the rest of the retiree recognition. Okay. Paula, moving on to Kathy. Oh, Kathy Pope. She's done such an amazing job. CES librarian and media tech. 32 years with our district. That's amazing. Dedicated to fostering love for reading among elementary students, facilitated a student library club. For many years, she managed the Scholastic Book Fair, enlisting the help of parents and community volunteers, and so much more. An amazing coworker to my mother. I just have to throw that out there. Just really, anybody else want to say anything about Kathy while I have you all up there?
Yeah,
Sure.
we walked around many a block together. We used to walk together all the time.
Oh,
I know I look like grass. I can't even figure out how to turn the dang thing off, but I'm here. But Kathy and I spent many hours walking around Calistoga together. It'll be sad to see her, but I never see her. But yeah, she's been a wonderful, wonderful asset to the district.
absolutely.
I would like to say something about Kathy. I just want to say that when I started working with her 7 years ago, she was so welcoming and so warm and wonderful to work with. And the library that she has proctored for the last 32 years, my goodness, is so beautiful and well kept. And she is a top-notch librarian. So congratulations, Kathy.
Yay.
And I just want to wish her great retirement as well. When you walk into the library, you can really see the influence that she has had in maintaining the program. And additionally, because of her wonderful community relationships, she keeps the library relevant and current, and has really worked well with our parent-teacher organization to continue fostering the love of reading for our students. So I don't see you on here, Kathy, but thank you for everything you've done.
Thanks for the nice comments. I appreciate it. I hope this is okay for me to talk now.
Yeah.
I am hearing it all for this, and thank you so much. I love the support. This has been, I mean, I love our community, and it has been the best. Best to be working. Kids are wonderful, you know, and the staff has been very supportive. So thank you. I'm going to miss it.
Well, we're always still there. You know, we always need volunteers for the Scholastic Book Fair. Kathy and I worked on that a few years, and that's always a fun thing. So, well, Kathy, congratulations. Enjoy your grandkids. That'll be nice that you have more time. Anybody else want to say anything? All right, so we're going to move on to our last retiree, who's Jose. Jose Pena has been a CES custodian and groundskeeper for 33 years with the district. He's been a fixture and a reliable person at CES for generations. Many parents have commented that Jose was their custodian when they were students at Calistoga Elementary School. He has participated in community ELAC events and is truly woven into the fabric of our little family. So we want to say congratulations for taking such genuine care of our campus and our kids. And if anybody else wants to pipe in, please do.
I was asked to translate. Is that okay if I do that now?
Please.
Okay. Primero, José, quiero agradecerle por todo su servicio aquí. Él ha sido el custodio y el jardinero aquí por la escuela primaria de Calistoga. Ha estado como un empleado en el distrito por 33 años. Y hay muchas personas, los padres de familia, que han comentado que él ha estado aquí cuando ellos eran niños en la escuela también. Y durante sus años aquí en la escuela primaria de Calistoga, él ha participado en eventos comunitarios de ELAC. Y como yo puedo ver, él está aquí en esta reunión con su nieta y quiero verle en la comunidad con sus nietos y quiero saludarle y agradecerle por todo su servicio aquí en la escuela de Calistoga.
Does Jose want to say anything?
José, ¿quiere compartir algo?
Bueno, puedo compartir que estuve muy contento durante los años que trabajé ahí y todos fueron atentos conmigo y pues yo estuve contento en ese tiempo que estuve ayudando en lo que pude.
And he'd like to share that he's been very happy working here for Calistoga and doing work for 33 años, 33 years, wow.
Yeah.
And he really has been a part of our community. And I will miss him every morning When I come onto campus, we always see each other at the front of the school and wave hi. Voy a extrañarle en las mañanas cuando yo llego al campus de Calistoga en la primaria y él está en el frente de la escuela y saludamos todos los días.
Yo también los voy a extrañar a todos y ojalá nos estemos viendo seguido por ahí.
And he will miss us as well. And hopefully we'll keep continuing seeing each other in the community.
Yeah, Jose, I just want to say thanks for everything. You've dedicated a lot of years to the district, and we all really appreciate it. I think you make a big impact on the kids, which is pretty apparent that you know, the adult parents of the kids now totally remember you. So it's a memory they have of you for a lifetime. So we really appreciate your dedication to the district, and I'm really gonna miss seeing you. I hope I see you around Calistoga, which I'm sure I will. Thanks for everything.
Gracias, Cris. Yo también trabajé muy a gusto contigo. Todo el tiempo fuiste muy gentil con nosotros y espero que todos estén bien y gracias por todo.
Yeah, and so Jose has also liked working with you, and I'll just add one more thing in Spanish that you shared. Usted ha dedicado muchos años por la escuela de Calistoga. Él notó otra vez que muchos padres reconocen de antes cuando ellos eran niños. Y también para poner más información, él ha participado todos los días durante el almuerzo de los estudiantes y él es muy calmado y muy tranquilo con todos los estudiantes. So one thing I did add in Spanish is that understand that Jose has, as the day shift custodian, he spent 33 years in lunches with our students and inside lunch. I just want to put that out there. That's a little different than other elementary schools. He is very calm with kids. And has maintained a very great attitude with our students. And by the way, we also do lunches in 3 shifts. So it's not like a 2-shift lunch. It's 3 shifts of lunch per day for 33 years. So definitely the kids remember him and appreciate him.
Great.
Gracias.
Julie, I just want to thank all 3 of those staff members who are very special people. And if Paula would unmute everybody, we can give them a resounding applause as an entire group.
Yay.
1 second, let me figure out how to do that.
Ready?
Yeah.
I tried to do it loud enough for everybody.
I was just going to say, while I'm sharing my screen, I don't know how to unmute everybody.
Oh, no.
I just wanted to say that obviously we'll have to replace those positions, but I don't think there's any replacing any of those people. They're irreplaceable for sure. All right, now we're going to have to move on to other business, correct? All right, obviously you guys do not have to stick around for the whole meeting, but we would love it if you do because it makes it so much more interesting to have all of us on here. But if you want to leave, you can go ahead and leave out, the little button on the right there.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so moving on to 5.1, public business from the floor. Do we have anything, Paula?
Julie, we have
Yeah.
one more recognition.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, sorry. Sorry. 2019-20 redesignated fluent English proficient students. I'm so sorry, Michael. Sorry, Michael. That's what I get for trying to do stuff without my glasses. I'm sorry.
So I can share a little bit about what it means to redesignate and what it takes to redesignate as a fluent English proficient student. It's quite rigorous and there's a high bar for reclassification. And students need to demonstrate mastery of the English language in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And they do that through their performance on the LPAC, which is our test for English learners, as well as typically a state assessment, which would be the CASP or the SBAC for us, or if they don't take that test during a particular year, we have local measures. They also need the recommendation of their teacher, as well as a parent opinion. And it's difficult, and it should be, for us to stop the level of support that we give an English learner. But the students, their teachers, their families should be immensely proud of it. It's really quite an accomplishment because it is just not easy to do. So we commend these students and everyone who has supported them towards reclassification. And I think Paula has a slideshow of our students who have reclassified during this school year.
Okay, I'll go through the slides. From Calistoga Elementary, we had 37 students. I've just put them in order from first all the way up through sixth. And then from the junior senior high school, we had 10 students, all the way up through 12th grade, which is pretty incredible that they're still, committed to earning this at that age. So I will also turn this into a PDF and I'll share it on social media and the website and all that. So they'll see the recognition, but I wanted to share it with you guys as well. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Michael. That's wonderful. Okay, now we're okay to move on. Didn't miss anything. I'm putting my glasses on. Okay. 5.1, public business from the floor. Did we have anything, Paula? Okay, so there's no public comments tonight. So then we'll just move directly on to 6 presentations. 6.1, Pupil Transportation Delivery Model Assessment Report. Michael Ray is here, consultant with Pupil Transporta on Informa LLC, who is going to be presenting his findings along with Chris and Maureen on the transportation study performed for our school district in conjunction with St. Helena School District. So Michael, you can take it away.
Thank you very much. Honorable members of the board, Superintendent Smith Hayberg, we appreciate the opportunity to present our report. This transportation study was done in conjunction with St. Helena Unified. And as you're well aware, Napa Valley Unified's been doing your transportation for the past few years and has notified the district that they're not going to be able to do it going forward. So that was really the impetus for this study. Paula, could you move to the next slide, please? Tim Purvis is the owner of Pupil Transportation Information and also the Director of Transportation of Poway Unified School District in northern San Diego County. Both he and I have been consultants for FCMAT for 25 years doing school transportation studies all over the state. But during the Great Recession, FCMAT's capacity was very limited, and they would refer their jobs out to their consultants. And therefore, Tim formed Pupil Transportation Information, or PTI, to be able to assist FCMAT with that excess capacity. So the product that we produce and what we do essentially is in the same format as FCMAT would. And my background is I was over the hill from Calistoga. For 29 years, I was the director of West County Transportation in Santa Rosa. Paula, could you move to the next slide, please? Thank you. So in January, the St. Helena Unified School District entered into the agreement with PTI, and the study was done in conjunction with Calistoga Joint Unified School District. And it directed us to look at the current agreement with Napa Valley Unified, to look at the district's needs for pupil transportation, and what some of the options might be moving forward. you could move to the next slide. Thank you. Now you're beginning to read my mind, Paula. So the report sections relative to Calistoga, the report is broken down into what the district is currently doing, what your costs are, what your routes and students are, staffing, the vehicles that you own, and whether or not you have any facilities. Also, we reviewed the current agreement with Napa Valley Unified and discussed options moving forward. So the current transportation services, this is just information for you all. There's one general education bus route that serves between 17 and 30 students daily. Of course, that varies depending on the needs of students. And that route travels about 141 miles. There are also 3 special education routes that are being done on non-school bus vehicles. One route has 3 students that go to a transition program, special ed students in Santa Rosa, and another one attends a non-public school in Sonoma County. The second route transports 2 students to St. Helena, and the third route transports 3 students to non-public schools in Santa Rosa. Occasionally, the district uses Zoom services, which is a private contractor, and that's really just used as a backup for the district when your drivers have called in sick and you don't have the ability to cover your routes. It's only been used 3 times since the inception of the contract with Zoom, so that's not very often. There are 3 dedicated district drivers for those special ed routes, and the district owns 3 66-passenger buses, 8 vans, 2 SUVs, and one of the vans has a wheelchair lift. And the district does not operate a vehicle maintenance or fueling facility. Paula? Thank you. So the recommendations relative to our findings of what is occurring right now is that if the district continues to use Zoom services to enhance the contract elements, right now, Zoom does fingerprinting and background check. But there are other things that we include in the report that could potentially be done to protect the district a little bit better. Also, we recommend that the district register its general education students in advance of the school year and ensure that they have the bus rules, regulations, and requirements in addition. That would be in compliance with an education code section 39831.5. We also recommend that the drivers receive training and that they're placed in a drug and alcohol testing and that testing program. And that requirement for the drug and alcohol testing program is a requirement of Vehicle Code Section 34520.3. And also we would recommend that the non-school bus vehicles, the vans and SUVs that transport students are placed on a regular preventive maintenance program similar to school buses. You want to limit your liability as much as you possibly can. So your current agreement with Napa Valley Unified School District, twice in recent history, Napa Valley has done the service and then declared that they were unable to provide the service. A few years back, both St. Helena and Calistoga contracted with First Student in Santa Rosa to provide the service. That was challenging for them because they're coming from such a great distance to be able to do the service. Although it may not seem that Santa Rosa is that far away, it's hard to manage a school transportation program that far away. Our sense is that you don't want to hope that Napa Valley Unified at some point in time will be able to provide the service. That would be challenging, and it's really probably time for the district to strike out on their own or in conjunction with St. Helena. The agreement has been fabulous, generally low cost and full service, and the district hasn't had to worry very much about pupil transportation. But in this last school year, Napa Valley Unified didn't have enough drivers and had to contract with Michael's Transportation and the service became very expensive. And then in January, they sent a letter to the district declaring that they would no longer be able to provide the service past June 30th. One of the great things is that Napa Valley has been kind of a full service provider in the sense that they're a motor carrier. They take care of all the laws and regulations and requirements to operate a pupil transportation system. And they've had excellent highway patrol, terminal inspections, and bus inspections over time. And Napa Valley's taken care of all the legal and regulatory requirements. So that's something that the districts going forward are going to need to look at. So Paula, the next slide, please. So we looked at several different potential models. Some of these were suggested by St. Helena, some by Calistoga. And for the immediate future, because this is such a short timeline, we recommend that the district contact Highway Patrol and register as a motor carrier. Calistoga at one point in time probably was a motor carrier, but you get a number that has to be placed on the side of the bus, and then there are a number of other things that the district has to become responsible for. And also you'd want to contract with Michael's Transportation, and I believe that has already been arranged for. At least in the short term, you're going to need to have drivers. For the future, you know, again, you don't want to hope that Napa Valley Unified is going to jump back in and be able to provide service for you. Essentially, they've walked away from that in the past, and although it's been a great deal and a great opportunity for them and for Calistoga, I don't think that that's something that you want to count on going forward. Another option to potentially look at, going out to contract for service. And we don't believe that there are contractors in the area that would be able to provide the service. First Student no longer has an operation in Santa Rosa. Their closest operation is San Rafael or in the East Bay and Concord. And St. Helena, I believe, had contacted West County Transportation Agency in Santa Rosa. They're a joint powers agreement. And they've been struggling with their own driver issues right now. So they had declined and said that they just weren't able to be able to provide service to any other school districts. We also looked at the potential of the districts providing service individually and separately. So Calistoga would be their own motor carrier, provide their own service. St. Helena would operate separately. We're not recommending this potential option, although it is a viable option for the district, because we think that there are some benefits of operating jointly with St. Helena. I believe it was St. Helena that requested to see if public transit in the valley would be able to provide some of the service. And you know, probably as you're well aware, the Vine does not have strong infrastructure up valley. There's not a lot of service that they could provide. And there are some concerns with public transit providing pupil transportation service for them and for the districts as well. Our strongest recommendation is that either St. Helena or Calistoga would become a lead district and provide the service for both districts, essentially contract with the other district, whoever it is that decides to be the lead. We had suggested that perhaps that might be St. Helena only because they operate more routes and they have a larger staff that might be able to support some of the work that they do or that would be necessary for pupil transportation. The last option was to form a joint powers agreement. And for a small operation like this, that's probably overkill. If you create a joint powers agreement with one district as a lead, essentially you're doing the same thing as having a lead district contract with another, because it drops the responsibility of, you know, payroll, budget, personnel, everything is on that lead district. If you have a standalone joint powers agreement, that could certainly work. But again, it's kind of overkill for the small number of routes between both of the districts. There's 4 general ed routes and probably 4 or 5 special ed routes. So it just seems like it would be a little too much for that. And we also had a section of the report where we outline the timeline and the responsibilities in the future. So after this first year of operating with Michaels, or during that year, actually, you want to be able to ensure that whoever the lead is will be registered as a motor carrier with the Highway Patrol. You want to be able to secure the services of the school bus driver instructor. That's the lifeblood of any school transportation operation. If you can't recruit, train, and retain school bus drivers, then you're always going to be struggling there. And we have some recommendations in the report about potential instructors. And also, especially in smaller school districts, it's not unusual that school bus driver positions might be shared with other positions in the district, like food service, custodians, grounds workers, or other types of positions like that. Instructional aides, both classroom and campus aides. We also recommend that the district develop some type of a communication system, a two-way radio system, to be able to communicate with buses. The district will need to enroll in the federal drug and alcohol testing program. And that's a requirement for commercial school bus operators. And also the DMV employer pull notice registration. Now, you already register your district drivers that drive the non-school bus vehicles, so you wouldn't have to re-register for that. You just want to make sure that all those new employees would be placed on the DMV pull notice program. And you want to look at who would be providing vehicle maintenance. We talk about the potential, especially if you're working jointly, of being able to hire a mechanic that can do more than just work on school buses. They can work on the non-school bus vehicles and grounds vehicles and other things like that. So it's a potential shared opportunity between both districts. And also secure a location out of which the transportation program can operate. So Paula, I think the last slide is just for any questions or discussion relative to that going forward.
I have a question. I have a couple questions. Can you go over the current state of the 3 buses that we own, which are operational? I didn't see anything in the report on recommendations of getting rid of equipment. And then the second thing is we're currently parking them in a yard across from CAL FIRE between Calistoga and St. Helena. Can you explain to us, is that contracted through Napa Unified? Is that still going to be an option for us in the future?
Okay, good question. And the 3 buses, well, 2 of them are operational. One of them, my understanding is it has not been maintained recently because there really wasn't a need for a 3rd bus. However, I believe it could be easily placed back in. I don't think there are any significant vehicle maintenance issues. All of the buses are about the same vintage, and they all appear to be in fairly decent shape. The parking location at CAL FIRE is, I don't believe there is any type of contractual arrangement there, either a written agreement or any charge for the district to be able to use that. CAL FIRE in many of their locations throughout the state allows other public agencies to be able to park vehicles or share facilities, but they would not likely allow you to place a portable building or fueling infrastructure or a vehicle maintenance facility there, but you can park there. And that's been, as I understand it, a long-term arrangement between Calistoga Joint Unified School District and CAL FIRE.
So if we entered into an agreement with St. Helena, we would combine buses use, and would they also then combine the use of our other pupil vehicles?
Well, potentially. We didn't go into that much detail, and I think that would be something that would need to be negotiated. But for example, currently, St. Helena has students that are going over to Santa Rosa, special education students, and Calistoga does as well. It would seem that doing that jointly, you'd be able, between both districts, to be able to reduce overall costs of providing that kind of service. And I think you'd just be a lot more nimble in the future. In terms of other details of the agreement, that would have to be something that you and St. Helena would work out together if you wanted to work jointly with them. Whoever the lead is, I mean, certainly you could maintain ownership of your buses. Maybe the lead district could lease them, or you could sell the buses to the other district over time. But I think in the long run, the fact that St. Helena has 3 bus routes and you have 1 bus route, they own 1 bus, you own 3 buses. If there's a shared operation, then there would be less of a requirement to go out and buy additional spare buses, because between both of you, you are able to cover the basic need, but you'd still need to have a spare bus or 2.
Which could potentially help us with field trips, etc.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we mentioned in the report. Is one of the benefits of having your own operation is you'll have some excess capacity, maybe be able to train a substitute driver or 2, and to be able to cover some of your own field trips at a much lower cost than charter bus companies.
Did we run any numbers for different scenarios, or is that something we would do moving forward, just to see what the cost would be in different scenarios?
That's something we would do working with St. Helena if we decided to go into a joint venture with them. There's obviously a lot of planning and a lot of details that we have to still work out, and even if we even have to work out whether or not it's even going to work to be able to join St. Helena and do this. But it does make sense for them to be the lead. They do have more routes than we do, and they do have more staff than we do. That makes a lot of sense. But I would hope that this next year would be kind of like a planning year to work all of those things out. Definitely, though, cost savings on field trips if we could have our own staff doing field trips, for sure. We're spending a lot of money in that area right now.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I do. So first of all, I guess, has St. Helena already received the equivalent report from you, Michael? Has their board received this presentation?
No, their board meeting is this Thursday, so they'll hear that on Thursday.
But presumably, since both districts asked you to put the report together, they have an interest in seeing where this might go. Do we know? Are we already in communication with them about how this might work out, or what our next steps might be?
I've been working with Andy Stubbs, the CBO at St. Helena, and so we have talked about it. We have not done any detailed planning as to how it could work. I just know that she knows her board wants to continue providing transportation student services to their students, and so going forward, it would make sense based on the recommendations of PTI for us to look into that to make sure that it would be feasible for both districts to be able to combine these services together. Does that help at all?
Yeah, thank you.
Nobody else? Questions? No? Okay. Well, then we'll look forward to seeing how it evolves.
I just want to thank Mike and his team, and Tim Purvis for coming in and working with the district. They spent a couple days walking around with Chris and looking at our buses and talking about program, and Thank you for all the hard work you put into this study, Mike, and hopefully it'll bring out some good planning for us in the next couple of years with St. Helena and some good services for our students.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. And also, I wanted to mention that Tim Purvis was not on site with us, but Donna Anderson, one of other consultants, was on site with us. And so she enjoyed working with the district as well. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Thanks for taking the time to join our super cool Zoom school board meeting.
Yes, thanks for your help.
And you know how to let yourself off if you don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting. Okay. Okay, so moving on to 6.2 LCAP operations written report with Aaron. Aaron, you have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, I thought I had. Thank you, Julie. This presentation was given by Lucy Edwards, who works for the Center of Innovations at the county office. And she gave it to the superintendents and then also presented it to our district data leadership team, as well as a professional learning network. So I wanted to update you on what is coming with the new LCAP. So the executive order in 5620 has done a couple of things. First, it has moved the traditional dates for the LCAP, which would have been due by June 30th of this year, to December 15th. But in the interim, and the links are there for you if you want to look at the official executive order later. In the interim, they are telling us that we have to prepare a document. Paula, can you go to the next slide? And we are still required to adopt a budget at the June meeting. So that will be at our June 15th meeting. We also have to submit to our board what's called an operations report. And so that is taking the place of the official LCAP. Next slide. This is just a general overview of the timeline. So if you look on the left side of the screen, the CDE released the operations report, and you can also look in the links if you want to see what the actual report looks like. So that is due by the end of June. I'll be bringing it to you at that second meeting. I'm going to bring you a draft, however, at the June 8th meeting so that you can see it before you actually have to approve it. Then what's different again is they are shifting the date of the LCAP to December 15th, but it's only a 1-year LCAP. So it's not the 3-year LCAP that we anticipated we were going to be preparing this June. So we have the board approve the December 15th LCAP, and then we have to submit it to the county office, just like we always do, and they will approve that for 1 year. So then we have to turn around immediately in February. We have to start to prepare our 3-year LCAP. So it will be for years 2021 to 2024. So it's going to be a very big turnaround, very quick turnaround time. And then again, the county office will approve it in June of the following year. So it's going to consolidate a lot of work in a very short amount of time. Next slide, Paula. And I wanted you just to see the areas that we have to address in the operations written report. It's not a long document, but it does have some requirements. So the first requirement is that we have to explain as a district how we responded to this pandemic as far as student learning is concerned. We also have to explain the impact that our school closures have had on students and families, and obviously they have all been impacted. And then item C there, we have to explain clearly how the needs of our unduplicated students have been met. So our unduplicated students are English learners, our socioeconomically disadvantaged students, and our foster youth. And then for those 3 groups of kids, we have to explain how we're going to continue to give them high quality distance learning opportunities, how we're going to provide them meals. You're well aware that we've done that. And then the difficult situation is how we're going to arrange for supervisions of students during ordinary school hours. To my knowledge, I don't know of any local districts that are doing that. The county office itself has offered services to students if they need them within in the county, and that's only being offered to healthcare workers. At this point in time, the county office has not had any Napa County employers or parents asked to have supervision. So after we've completed that, we then bring it back to the board. Next slide. For your approval. Some of this is a repeat, but I want you to look at items number 3 and 4, because these are big changes as well. Every year we have to bring local indicators to our governing boards, and I have done that in the past in June, and you adopt those local indicators, and then I input them into the school dashboard. And so this year they're saying that they're waiving that requirement because they're not sure whether or not there's even going to be a dashboard. And then item number 4, I also bring to you a federal addendum that shows how we're using our federal monies, our Title I, Title II, and Title III monies. So the federal government has also waived that requirement. So you will not see those 2 items at the June board meeting like you have in the past. Next slide. Do you have any questions about it? No? Okay. So like I said, I will bring a draft to you on June 8th, and I'll be able to put that draft together after I've gotten the LCAP survey results as well. That will help me guide the draft. Stay tuned.
Great, thank you. Just when we were starting to feel like we were getting some consistencies on our dashboard, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Well, we will do the best. I'm sure that everybody will be very impressed with our way that we've handled everything, because I know I have compared to what I've heard from other schools. So thank you for all the hard work. So now, if no other questions, everybody's good? Everybody's good? Okay. We're going to go ahead and move to 7.1, and we're reviewing first reading of board policies. So the following board policies and administrative regulations are presented for first reading in order to reflect new and current laws, regulations, and district practices. So we have those 4 that we've read in our folder. I don't know if Erin, you want to touch on any of those?
These all reflect current law. The only one I thought you might want to hear specifics about is Administrative Regulation 5121. And Michael, do you mind addressing that?
Sure. This is a policy that speaks to retaking classes, so a student at the high school level who retakes a class. And we felt that the current language was just, it was ambiguous and not really well written. And in some research, most districts don't have this policy. Some of the ones that do have tried to add attachments or do things to address that and make it more clear. And what we've decided to do is just rewrite it in a way that expresses our practice. And it's not a change in practice, but we just feel that the way that we've written it here is just clear for all stakeholders, whether it be parents or administrators or teachers, that you read it and you know what it means as far as what happens when a student retakes a class.
Questions from anybody? Okay, then we will be looking for those to come back to be approved. Okay, moving on to 8. No, yes, it says 8, but then under it says 6. So I think we're doing 8.1. Calistoga Elementary School principal.
Good evening, everyone. So first of all, now that we are in a distance learning model, I just wanted to share out some of the communication structures that we've been using. In the past, we had our teachers doing collaboration each week, and then we had a monthly staff meeting. What we've found is that because of the dramatic changes that have come with distance learning, and specifically that we are using a digital platform, as grade levels, we meet for an hour every other week to really pinpoint student need, and we really go student by student with extensive notes. And included in those every other week meetings, we also meet with our special education case managers, because when we did switch to a distance learning model, there was a requirement on the teachers who are case managers for students with individualized education plans to continue to outreach and provide services as related to their specific goals on their plans. And so when we are meeting as grade levels, what we do is we review data on some of our application programs where we can see if students are using programs like Lexia or Dreambox or Freckle. Also, teachers are keeping track of who's participating in whole class meetings and also in small group meetings. And then they're informally keeping track of turning in of assignments, which if students in grades 3 through 6, they're using Google Classroom. And so the students can, with their email address, upload those assignments. And so as we go through student by student, what has been really pivotal in keeping that engagement going is that we've also enlisted our paraeducators in those meetings and really helping them be able to understand the platform so that when they're calling up the parent, sometimes what we were finding is that the parent didn't know how to get onto the classroom meeting. And so what we have been doing is the paraeducator calls 10 minutes before the Zoom meeting. The parent will have the device sitting out there and they'll walk them through how to put in the code. If it's a case of assignments sometimes not getting turned in, understand that not all of our students learn these platforms with proficiency. And so what we did discover is that there were times where students were getting the assignment complete and then not turning it in because, like, let's say there were 10 questions and they didn't do question number 9. So then they go, well, you know, I'm just going to wait. So we've been really outreaching to those families. We keep a rough engagement percentage. As of May 4th, it was at 91.4% engagement. Then in terms of going back to a normalcy experience, we had our final meeting with UC Davis Math Project, and that's been, we've met throughout the year with a group of Calistoga Elementary math teachers, and then also with the junior senior high math teachers to do articulation and common practice. They presented to us via Zoom, and it was very relevant in terms of, we spent quite a bit of time looking at how to support distance learning with some of the best practices for math instruction. And it was really nice to see our junior senior high colleagues as well. And she did provide us with some resources to help support the more conceptual thinking in mathematics. With respect to LCAP goal number 2, I'm pleased to say that Mr. Morita and Mr. Kreiner have reconvened student council. We're doing student council via distance learning. And what they are doing is looking at doing weekly trivia, like CES trivia competitions. Also, we were in the process of setting up a student talent show. And in fact, the acts were all set to go and they were supposed to be rehearsing over at the Boys and Girls Club. And thanks to parent volunteer Jen Frutel, she reached out to the students and they have basically created videos of their talent show. And so we're trying to get that put together in a video to be able to share with our students. And then finally, when we started, we were very worried about just keeping that enthusiasm and engagement going. Teachers each week are featuring superstars, and then every other week, along with our newsletter, teachers are making recommendations, and so we feature those students in our newsletter, and then we are sending certificates and letters home with the idea of we call them the refrigerator awards, where the students can put those up and be able to see that they're being acknowledged. And then in terms of LCAP goal number 3, we are continuing with our newsletter every other week. Also, teachers are using platforms such as ClassDojo and Aries Communicate, and in kindergarten they're using Zooms to. We are trying to move forward with getting a parent meeting on a digital platform. What we have been doing as a staff once a week is participating in what we call like a restorative community conference. And part of that is to continue the restorative practices, but do it on a digital framework so that teachers can push them out into their classes, and then ultimately we'd like to be able to engage our parent community so that they can see all the wonderful practices that are going on in this distance learning model. So that's my report for tonight.
This might be a big question, and there might be something planned in the future to talk about it, but is there any kind of guideline being given by the state on if you had a student that was struggling already before this all started, and maybe they happen to fall in that 6% non-engagement, in how we're going to handle moving forward with that student to the next year?
I can share some thoughts on that. So we haven't gotten straightforward guidance from our state on that issue, other than hold harmless, which is a phrase we interpret the best we can. Some states have given kind of an outright, we will not be retaining students. That is not the guidance here in California, and probably for the best, even though we haven't had a full year with students. There are some students, perhaps at the very low grades, kinder, first, or a student who's missed a significant chunk of the year with an illness like mono, for whom retention may be best. And so we still do retain that right to act on that if we see fit.
And I did want to say that in terms of the students that started out prior to distance learning with what we call academic concerns, what we have done in grades K through 3, we still have our reading intervention teacher. And so she has been continuing services with those students and meeting with them in small groups. And then grades 4 through 6, we do the designated ELD, and included in there, we are regrouping students for classroom meetings and support. And what we are finding right now is that we really are getting down to, and I do share this out every week, kind of that finite list of students. What has happened so far in the classroom meetings is some students we take off the list because they're back onto Zoom meetings. We did add a couple of students just because, and we noted this also informally in our math meeting as well, is that there was what we noticed a lot of initial enthusiasm and novelty with the platform. And then last week we started to see a couple of students start pulling away. And so we will be following up with those families as well. And sometimes just things happen. Why we try to be as immediate as possible. Sometimes a device will fail or things will change with the internet. And so we want to be as responsive as possible, because the more days that the student sits with the device that's not working means lost instruction.
Thank you for that. Just another side note too, will you throw all the board members on your newsletter list? Because I used to get it when I was a parent. I'd love to get it so we can give you kudos for all your good stuff.
Yeah, and I believe that Veronica is uploading it onto.
You can grab it off the website, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I can also make sure that she pushes it out as well to you guys.
Anybody else have any comments on Nicole? Okay, then if Nicole's done, we'll go ahead and give it to Raul.
All right. Greetings, everyone. My report for this month is I'll take it on go through the LCAP goals and kind of talk about graduation a little bit. But first, LCAP goal number 1, ensuring academic excellence for all our students. We are continuing to monitor students and how they're accessing the curriculum, and then doing follow-up with the students that haven't had any contact with teachers or haven't been doing appropriate workloads. Our office staff continues to provide families with access to Chromebooks. So whenever we have information that a Chromebook broke or something technology-wise, it's an issue, then we have our office staff that goes in and gives them a new Chromebook so they could stay up on their studies. Also, our counselor has started to do 10-minute appointments. She started with the junior class and having basically like a 10-minute quick check-in meetings with all the students individually so they could start planning out for next year courses. And then also we hold weekly subject area meetings via Zoom with our staff. And in these weekly meetings, we discussed what's the student engagement. We talk about successes for that previous week. We discuss grading practices and expectations so that we could have some kind of consistency. And then also discuss how the students are feeling in terms of their workload. And also wanted to give quick kudos to special ed. I know Nicole mentioned special ed teachers and students with IEP, but our special ed teachers and our support staff, our paraeducators, have been doing an exceptional work to try and to reach all those families and make sure that the students have appropriate support to engage in this distance learning. The other thing we've been working on is the plan for graduation and keeping in mind with the social distance requirements that we have and the shelter-in-place limitations. And we are hoping to be able to roll out a plan to our families at the end of this week. And if you guys are interested, I could share with you guys briefly what it looks like. Are you guys interested in that? Yeah, can I share my screen then to do that? Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Oh, I need to get approval from Paula first.
Unfortunately, I don't have any participants that can't share their screen. So if you want to send it to me.
Okay, I'll share it and then I'll keep going and then we could,
Sure.
Sorry, hold on
I had to make sure my senior was out of the room and the door was closed.
It's not gonna be a secret for too long. Okay, Paul, I just sent it to you. In terms of LCAP goal number 2, provide a safe, healthy, positive school environment. I don't know if you saw on the district's Facebook page, but Carla Server from the Career Center did an exceptional job in really putting the signing day onto that platform so that we are able to really see where our students are going and create kind of a really momentous signing day. Used to be, it's an important day, right, for seniors where they really declare what their plans are for next year. So she was able to try and create that opportunity in these placards that she made as to where our students are going after high school. So you can see that on the Facebook page. And now the class of 2020, Plan A is up there. So I'm going to go really quick through this. I don't want to spend too much time, but if we just go to the next. So the idea is to provide really a meaningful graduation ceremony while meeting the shelter-in-place requirements. We want to keep the traditions that are in place at Calistoga. And of course, I'm not the one that's able to talk about Calistoga traditions because this would be my first graduation. But the idea is to have one student, students gather in the staging area and one graduate per car. The car then will be driving into the track at the fairgrounds, and graduates will pop out of the car with their caps and gowns, go up to the stage and pick up their diploma. And then they go back into their car and then exit the area. We are planning to do a video that would follow basically a traditional graduation, where the video then would be the speeches, everything that that traditional graduation will hold, so that they could have that in terms of for their longevity, right, for their memento. In the next screen, you'll see the layout of the fairgrounds. So that would be basically the drive-through area. And then the areas where the student graduate would get out of the car and then pick up their diploma and then get back on their car as they go through. The idea is to drive on the track. And then that's fine, Paula, you can go to the next one. So the points and possibilities, the video will also have a collage of photos, the recorded speeches. They will include, of course, the walk on stage with the photo and video. The video will be professionally made, so it's really nice quality. The idea is to also include a downtown banner, and that's in the works, as well as yard signs that have the graduate's photo on them. And the idea would be that they could carry this sign as well as they go through their graduation ceremony. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the plan for now. And I don't know if you guys have questions that I could talk about. Let me finish my presentation and then we could go into questions again. So going back to the LCAP goal number 2, I also wanted to say that we're really, been trying to reach out to our students because we know that the isolation is the area of concern, especially when we're looking at student social emotional health. So I want to commend Zach for really coordinating our continuing conversations with our therapists and our office staff to make sure that when concerns happen, that they are able to follow up on. And LCAP goal number 3, increase parent engagement and enhance communication. This is still going to be an area that we need to explore as to how best to engage our parents. It still is a challenge to engage them in this new distance learning. Our parents are used to, being able to walk down our campuses and go into our offices and ask questions and meet our office staff and get their support. And now in this distance learning approach, they are, for sure, that's a barrier. So one of the things that we need to do is better prepare our parents with how to use technology and how to use various communication so that we could increase our communication there. And that is all I have. I could answer any questions now.
Mark, you're cutting in and out there.
I can't understand you, Mark. Your voice is not clear.
If you want to text me, Mark, I could always ask for you.
Can you hear me now? How about now?
Better.
What plan did I get rolled out though?
Not better.
I think he's asking when the plan will be rolled out to everybody.
Oh, got it. Okay, so we just met earlier today with Chief Zelaya, and Aaron's going to make sure that this is a plan that's approved by the county health. And once we get the okay on that, then I'll be rolling that out. So, and as well as the information as to when to pick up your caps and gowns, when to pick up your yard signs, all that information will be going out at the same time.
So while we're on it, what about the 8th graders and the 6th graders?
Well, the eighth graders, we're in sixth graders. Well, I won't speak for Nicole, but we're gonna be. We're hoping to see those students right in the fall that will get an opportunity then to do it with them.
And I'll just jump in here. For sixth grade, what we did last week is we sent a survey to our students. What they're asking for is on the actual last day of sixth grade, just some kind of acknowledgement to start, and then they would like to reschedule to have a live in-person promotion ceremony. Many of the students said, we understand, we know why we can't do this. And there were some students who said, just understand that for us, we just want to be able to hug each other, hug our teachers, and celebrate our going from Calistoga Elementary to the junior senior high.
Well, the nice thing about sixth grade and eighth grade is that the kids will still be around. So there is a possibility of us putting together some sort of celebratory collaboration at the beginning of next year or whenever this is over. Yeah.
And I did run a different plan through some of the seniors that are in student leadership just to get their input, get some ideas from them too. Of course, they would love to have a traditional graduation, but unable to do that. They were feeling okay with a different kind of plan and a different setup, knowing that we have some limitations.
Great. Anybody else have any questions for Raul? You had quite a challenge on your first year here with us, right? You did a great job so far, though. Thank you.
Congratulations, Julia Mark. Okay, that was completely out of line, but I just said it anyway.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So I guess one question would be, will you still want a couple board members to be up there 6 feet apart up on the stage?
Yeah, we're still working out the details for what that's going to look like, and because obviously we can't have student contact, we can't even hand them their diploma, but we would like to have some of our board members there, including the superintendent, and of course, to be able to, acknowledge from a distance our students.
Great. Okay. If nothing else, then we will move past student representative because I don't think Alexa joined us. But we did want to take a moment, and it's recorded so she can see this, to thank Alexa for her dedication and commitment to the Board of Trustees during tenure as her student representative. We've enjoyed listening to her reports on what's going on in the high school and appreciate her professionalism as a member of our board. So thank you, Alexa, when you see this. And she did a great job. She really did. Okay, so moving on to 6.4, Director of Education, Michael.
Yeah, so I think it feels like we're over the hump a little bit with this transition to distance learning. Last month and the last 2 months really has felt pretty overwhelming. I mean, it's a historic change. That's something we haven't seen, to make such a quick change to how we deliver instruction. But at this point, I think our model is in place. It's not a replacement for in-school learning, but all staff are up and running with an online classroom and connecting with students on a daily basis. We sent out a survey to staff to see how things are going, and pretty much got 100% participation from staff, which was great, and their feedback was really valuable. Some of the things that we hear are working. Google Classroom is an effective platform for our staff right now. Live and recorded lessons that are being offered by teachers are effective, and then class check-ins and office hours. Some of the challenges we're hearing about is student participation. And I think echoing what Nicole shared of even for our students who were initially engaged, there is starting to be a little bit of fatigue setting in on distance learning, and some of that participation is dropping off. And then curriculum that works with distance learning. Some of our curriculum is easier than others to transition into this platform. And then some curriculum that we have adopted just isn't as effective when we go online. So this is good information for us to have. We will be sending out a survey this week to our families and students in grades 4 through 12. We'll also make phone calls to follow up with families on the survey because we know that will increase the number of responses that we get. And the information we gather on these surveys will be important for how we finish the year. And also, you know, there's a chance that we at some point in the future may find ourselves back in distance learning. So this is good information just to guide future planning for us. And share some updates on the summer program. At this point, I think it's confident in saying that any summer program we offer will take the form of distance learning. I think at some point we had hoped that perhaps we would push summer program to the end of the summer. But I think at this point we feel that distance learning is probably the only viable option. We know we will offer extended school year to our special education students who have that on their IEPs. We know we will offer credit recovery to our high school age students. Where I think there is still some question marks are in grades K through 8. And we have the names of students who are recommended for summer school, though I think there is some question as to student interest, family interest, as students and families continue to try to engage in distance learning. So we are following up by phone with all families who've been recommended, and we will put together some information on what the interest level is. And then we'll be able to decide how to move forward. We will have the staffing should we implement distance learning for grades K-8, but I think it's important that we go through a process and determine what the interest really is like for our students to engage. And then lastly, a little information that I have on the dashboard and statewide testing. We know that there's no CASP this year. We know there's no physical fitness test, and we have incomplete summative LPAC testing. Some of our students have completed the LPAC and some of our students have not. We are hearing that, that it's probable that the LPAC, the summative LPAC from this year will be administered when students return in the fall. So we will have complete LPAC testing, we hope. There's a federal waiver on reporting on academic progress on state testing. Though the state has not issued their decision on whether or not they'll release a dashboard. It seems to me unlikely given that there's not a lot to report. And I guess we'll learn more and I will share out more as I learn it, but I think one of the takeaways that we have is that having a strong local assessment system, having our own assessment system is more important than ever. We were in the process of piloting a new assessment program this year called MAP. And the team who piloted it, I think, has come to the conclusion at this point that that's something we will implement next year. And this is good news for us, that we'll be implementing a new and effective local assessment system because in the absence of state testing data, having good, reliable data that we can use and a system that we can even administer remotely if students are at home is going to be critical for us to judge how students are doing, for us to judge how we are doing, and to give us feedback. So that's my report this month.
That's great, Michael. Thank you so much. You've had a lot on your plate for sure.
Oh yeah, we all have, but I continue just to be, immensely impressed. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it, to transition like we have so quickly to something so new and unexpected. I think everyone in the organization has risen to the challenge. And I think our teachers have just done an amazing job, and our support staff of committing to doing this thing right in the best way we can for kids.
I think we're a very agile district. Do a good job. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to Maureen, Director of Business Services.
All the great reports of all the wonderful things that were going on with distance learning, and now I get to give you the state budget news. Probably not the greatest news you're going to hear all night. So May revision's getting ready to come out in the next week or so. And they did do some preliminary numbers last week. So I just wanted to just go over and touch a few points on the state budget, Prop 98 funding. Although we are a community funded district, I think it's important for us to all know what our fellow neighbors of other school districts are going to probably be going through. And on top of that, how devastating really COVID has been to our state budget. The Department of Finance revealed a state budget deficit of $13.4 billion in the current year and another $40.9 billion in 2021. That's a total of $54 billion over the next 2 years, which represents about 37% of the state's general fund budget. The LAO, which is an independent reporting, Department of Finance reports for the governor. LAO is an independent kind of overlook of the budget. They came out on Friday with an $18 to $31 billion deficit moving into the fiscal year of 2021. And remember that our state receives revenue in 3 ways: personal income tax, capital gains tax, and sales tax. So of course, during this COVID experience, we are going to be seeing a huge decline in all 3 of those areas. And what this is going to do is lower our Prop 98 guarantee over the next couple of years by $18.3 billion. Early numbers are equating this to about a $2,300 per student drop in funding for school districts. And just to give you a perspective, going into 2021, if we were an ADA funded school district and losing about $2,300 per student, we'd be looking to cut about $1.9 million out of our budget going forward. Already missing the layoff windows for any big staffing cuts that we would be able to make. We are projecting in our reserve for economic uncertainty at the end of this year to be about 1.8 million. So we wouldn't even get through that with our reserve. So it's going to be pretty devastating to school districts. The state is looking for ways. They've done a good job of building up their reserves these last few years. So hopefully we'll see some support with the reserves that the state has. And in addition, federal funding will come in and help backfill some of that loss as well. But we as a community funded district aren't seeing the cuts that our other ADA districts are going to be seeing. We right now may see a fair share hit. I don't know if you recall in 2009 when we had the recession before, each community funded district was asked to take a fair share hit. For us, we're taking a permanent hit right now from 2009 of about $496,000. We should be receiving a little over $1 million every year from the state. This is in addition to our property tax. And right now we're only receiving about $509,000. So we could see some of that go away if the state does expect districts that are community funded to give a fair share back. But again, we are fortunate to be a community funded district. This year in the spring, we were able to see a $300,000 increase to our property taxes for the 19-20 school year. That was unexpected and not budgeted. So that is going to help us moving forward and being conservative and really trying to build our reserves for the next few years. We shouldn't see a huge hit on our property tax projections for the 2021 school year. Those projections are based off of the 2019 tax rolls. Obviously, COVID didn't hit before then, but we are going to probably see a 0% increase going into the 21-22 year and the 22-23 year. So it's very important for us as a district to start thinking about those out years and not seeing any revenue increases, knowing that we have those fixed revenue increases of step and column and special ed education contribution increases and STRS and PERS increases to our contributions for STRS and PERS employees. Again, we want to maintain our reserves. We want to look at conserving our cash. Cash is king. And one of those ways we are going to get some help is through federal funding for COVID. The CARES Act is providing some funding to Title I school districts. So thank goodness Aaron back in 17-18 applied for Title I funds, because we're now eligible to receive about $94,402 in CARES Act funding to help with all of COVID expenditures and the backfill of the loss of state revenue, if that's the case. We've also applied for FEMA funding. FEMA is a whole different route of funding. We haven't heard a lot on how this is going to be dealt out yet. I think I mentioned this last month, and there are some webinars that I'm going to attend this week to find out more about how we go about getting FEMA funding, but I believe that's going to be a little bit more restricted to what our COVID expenditures were. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight was audits. This seems to have been the year of audits for Calistoga School District. We had a STRS audit, we had an E-rate audit, we had our categorical program audit, our federal audit, and food service has had 2 audits and just found out that they are now going to be seeing a 3rd audit for our seamless summer feeding review program. So I just want to take just a second to commend Rosa Rubio and all the work she's been doing. She makes even audits a positive experience for not only herself, but for me as well. And a lot of time goes into having to report for all these audits, and she's doing that in addition to reporting or to producing over 200 lunches and breakfasts a day during our closures. So I would just want to commend her for being such an awesome staff member and big part of our team. And that's all I have for tonight, unless anybody has any questions.
Just say thank you, Maureen, for pursuing all those funding possibilities, and good luck.
Again, I think we're lucky being a community funded district, and I just hope we don't see the devastation, you know, in 21, 22, and 22, 23 that school districts are probably going to be seeing next year that are ADA funded.
Thanks, Maureen. Anybody else before we move on to Erin's report? No? Okay, Erin, take it away.
Thank you, Julie. So under LCAP goal number 1, ensuring academic excellence for all of our students, I met recently with the program director for the Cowell Foundation to review our progress on this year's grant objectives. And I'm very excited to report that we've been invited to submit for a renewal grant again this year. And as a reminder to the board, this year's grant award was $85,000 for the 2nd year in a row, and it supported the implementation of restorative practices at the junior senior high school. It paid for all the substitute costs for the data release days at both school sites and the substitutes for the data leadership team members. And Cowell also sponsored the PK program. They were going to fund the culturally responsive teaching training, but as you know, that was canceled due to the school closure. So they are allowing us to carry over any unspent funds into next year. So that will help us as well with the budget. So the next steps are that I must submit a year-end report, and then I will write a renewal grant proposal and submit that in July. So we will receive the final grant award in August of this year. So I'm just very grateful for the foundation's continued support of our district students. They really do believe in our work. Under LCAP goal number 2, providing a safe, healthy, and positive school environment, I wanted to report that Zach Guzik had shared with me a few weeks ago that he had been at the food distribution site at CES during lunch one day, and he had noticed that many of the kids who were picking up food were not wearing bike helmets when they came up to pick up the meals. So out of concern, he came and talked to me and said, how do you feel about me contacting the CHP and to see if they could somehow assist? And they were wonderful. They offered to provide free helmets for our families. So they arranged the distribution with Zach last Thursday. My families were picking up their meals, and the event was a resounding success. We had 70 students getting a bike helmet, and then 30 additional students were also given child-sized face masks. So both Zach and Marcela Rodriguez were there to assist with the distribution, and I continue to greatly appreciate the Family Center's support of our students. Under LCAP goal number 3, increasing parent engagement, after consulting with Mildred Gaines, she's the executive director of PK, we decided to survey our parents to determine if they had any interest in completing the 2nd semester virtually rather than waiting for the fall. And the PK staff called every single parent who had participated in the first seminar back in March. And all but one of those parents wanted to complete the program through 3 2-hour virtual sessions. And there was also a consensus among that large group that the best time to host those workshops will be on Saturday mornings from 9:30 to 11:30. So we've scheduled 3 dates, May 23rd, 30th, and June 6th, which will also be the program's online graduation. So if you'd like to tune into that, I will give you the Zoom address on that date. So as far as the content, because some of our parents are not familiar with using Zoom, and that is an application that our students are using with some of our teachers, the PK staff is going to call, again, each family and help over the phone, guide them through how to log into Zoom, which will be certainly a good skill for them. And then those 3 mini sessions are not only going to include the standard PK curriculum that was already set, but it also is going to include education on how to utilize Aries communication better. And you heard principals talking about that in the past. So I think it'll be a very good use of time, certainly given the fact that we're going to be extending our distance learning at some point into next year. I believe it's a good model to follow. So when I met with the Cal Foundation program director, I mentioned to her how successful PK was in that first seminar and our intent about doing the online for the remainder of the year. And I also mentioned to her what I'd like to do for next year is invest in another 2-part seminar for parents, again, as soon as the executive order allows us to have it included for on-site education. And she was extremely in favor of it, said to write it into the grant again for next year. So I think we'll have the funding for it because it is a fairly expensive program. And then I just wanted to remind you that last week was Staff Appreciation Week, and I remain just incredibly grateful for our staff. Every staff member is working hard right now, and as Michael already mentioned, it's not been an easy transition, but everybody has stepped up to the plate, and I believe they're doing a great job for our kids. And I'm also very appreciative of our families. It is not easy to be home, trying to teach your child. Some of them are still working, some of them are taking care of others in their household. So just a lot of gratitude for the entire educational community right now. So thank you.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Erin. Okay, we're going down to 9.1, consent agenda. So remember, actions proposed for the consent agenda are deemed routine in nature and will be enacted in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless any member of the board, the audience, or staff requests specific items to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. So on that note, I would be looking for a motion to go ahead and approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second, anybody?
Second.
Second.
Okay, Paula, you can take Mark maybe on that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Perfect. That's roll call, sorry. Clerk Reed?
Aye.
Trustee Lopez Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Maxfield?
Aye.
Trustee Galindo? Martin? Aye, there you go. And student representative is absent. So then we move on to 10.1 action items. So protocol for action items includes staff presentation, questions from the board, public input, deliberation by the board, and voting by the board. During public input, there'll be a 3-minute time limit. I don't think there's any public input. So we will start out with 10.2, declaration of need for fully qualified educators, and that goes to Michael.
Yes, this is a document we submit on an annual basis. Should we need to ask for a waiver for someone who's not fully qualified, we must have this submitted. We don't anticipate having anyone who is not credentialed. I think our culinary teacher is currently pursuing a CTE credential. Other than that, we should have fully credentialed teachers in all areas. So it is a good thing to have this on file should other circumstances present themselves.
Unmute yourself.
Sorry, thank you. So I'm just looking for a recommendation to go ahead, a motion to approve. As
So
presented
moved.
by Michael. Great.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Indira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right. So moving on to 8.3, looking at our agreement with Persinger Architects for the restroom remodel. Chris.
So back in April, you guys approved, the board approved us moving forward with the agreement from with Persinger. This is basically the full agreement that was provided to the district by Lozano Smith. We made some adjustments to it, basically based on Lozano Smith's recommendations for insurance amounts and other things. So we sent that off to Persinger. They reviewed it and signed it and sent it back. So we're just hoping for board approval on that.
Okay, good. So if anybody has questions? No? Okay, great. So I'm looking for a motion to go ahead and approve the contract.
So moved. Second.
Great.
Gotta
All
be
in
quick,
favor?
Matt.
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Wonderful. Moving on to 10.4. Do that. Okay. Moving on to 10.4, agreement with VidCruiter. You have to help me with that.
VidCruiter.
VidCruiter for virtual interview support. VidCruiter, I get it. Recruiter. Got it.
VidCruiter offers a variety of technology-enhanced recruiting and interviewing services. This is an agreement for their recorded interview service, which allows applicants to record the answers to their interview questions and then for panel members to rate their responses. This new tool is being implemented in response to our stay-at-home order and our inability to conduct in-person interviews. We have had the luxury as a small district of not leaning on and needing a lot of technology tools for our interview processes. We like to meet our candidates, look them in the eyes, do on the phone reference checks. But this is a different time, and we need to find different solutions. And so this is one of the ways we are approaching interviews. And I think it worked pretty well the first time around here. We've got 2 great candidates that we recommended for permanent positions tonight.
Great. Anybody have any questions about the service? Okay. Probably helps too. I'm thinking like you could do Zooms, but then coordinating everybody's attendance is so hard. So this is a great option.
Yeah, I think otherwise you spend hours and hours on together on Zoom. So
yeah, that's great.
Pros and cons to it, but I think it worked well this first go around.
Good, good. Okay, so what we're looking for is a motion to approve the agreement with VidCruiter as presented. Come on. Oh, Matt's moving.
Second.
Jeff seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Perfect. Great. Okay, 10.5 board policies and administrative regulations. So these policies were updated to reflect the most current laws. We brought these in the last meeting for the first reading, and now they are being recommended for adoption. So unless anybody has any questions about these 3 board policies, I am going to look for a motion to approve them. Oh, Jeff, you went backwards. You just muted yourself.
So moved.
Okay, Jeff moved.
Second.
Indira second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. All right. And then that brings us to our favorite part, closing items. So board meeting calendar, we are going to have 2 in June because there's some necessary things we need to do in those 2 different weeks. So that's unavoidable. So June 8th and June 15th, and then we will skip July as our break unless something special doesn't come up. And then August 3rd. Oh, August 3rd to be rescheduled.
Yeah, Julie, I'm going to bring back an alternative date at the June meeting.
Okay, perfect. And then tentative future agenda items, budget, public hearing and adoption. And we do not have any reason to reconvene to closed session, so I'm looking for your favorite motion.
So moved to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Matt seconds. Wonderful. Thanks, everybody. Good meeting.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you all.
Okay, night.
And